let's take a look at another match that we're considering as one of the biggest matches of the weekend. We are going to be keeping an absolute close eye on Washington Spirit versus OL Reign. They will be kicking off their regular season on May 1st. Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern in Audi Field. And then on the horizon is going to be their semifinal matchup for Challenge Cup. So there were a lot of moving parts leading up to this weekend. And ultimately, when we had chatted a little bit about the dilemma in one of our previous episodes during our news and notes segment, when the match was initially slated for Segra Field, part of maybe that very small kind of glass half full perspective was that despite OL Reign being the number one Challenge Cup semifinal seed, they were unable to have an appropriate facility to host and in their home field. So the next thing was to look elsewhere. And then unfortunately, they're going to be on the road. And so maybe the silver lining within this was like, since they're already going to be playing a regular season fixture against each other, why not just stay in the same region to save a little bit of travel on the body? So this regular season match is going to be kicking off the official regular season for both of these teams at Audi Field, and then they will be staying in the area for their semifinal match on May 4th. When we're looking at just the regular season, though, Lisa, it's hard to maybe break away and say that these two teams are preparing differently for different types of scenarios, because I think if you're players on either side of the team here and you're looking at the schedule ahead of you, you want to win this game. And quite frankly, these I think are the two heavy hitters that so many of us have our eyes on during 2022. Washington Spirit are the reigning 2021 NWSL champions, and you got OL Reign just racking up results. It's going to be a good one. Who do you got in this one and why?
This is my biggest game to watch out of all weekend, perhaps throughout the Challenge Cup, because as you mentioned, they play this weekend on Sunday and then they play again on Wednesday. That's a very quick turnaround, especially to play against the exact same opponent. So I'm going to take a little trip down memory lane here just to refresh everyone's memories about these two sides. Washington Spirit are unbeaten in their last 18 games in all competitions. Now, there were 2 forfeit losses in that span, but I'm going to overlook those. And this is all under Chris Ward as well, the acting head coach from 2021, who is now the head coach of OL Reign. The last 3 times these two teams have played, Washington has swept 3 straight wins against OL Reign, including a 2-1 road win in last season's NWSL playoff. So recent history, Washington Spirit has the upper hand over OL Reign. Ashley Hatch is coming off a brace in the last match that Spirit had against North Carolina Courage. Allie Watt also got on the scoreboard for OL Reign in their last match against San Diego. So we're starting to see different pieces come together. Specifically, when we look at this OL Reign side, Allie Watt getting a goal, that's huge. A player that has been technically in the league for a while, suffered some injuries, and this is a huge year for Allie Watt to see if she can make a big impact, not only with the team, but also with OL Reign and her play in the NWSL. Getting that first goal is off to a huge start. There's so much that it's so hard to separate between the Challenge Cup semifinal and this regular season game. You said it, though. Both teams want to get a win. I think the energy that we've seen from Washington Spirit has just grown and grown and grown. They snuck away with a tie against North Carolina in their last match. But going up against OL Reign, they're playing at home at Audi Field. They don't have to travel. They get to sleep in their own beds. I think the off the field factors play so much into this. OL Reign not supposedly being the number one in the Challenge Cup, but not being able to host, that plays a factor in this. I honestly am going to go with the draw in this match between Washington and OL Reign.
Music to my ears, but let me tell you why. Because the reason why I didn't want to go maybe like draw in that first biggest match pick that we made was because I'm saving my draw for this one. I'm looking at these two teams, and I just think that they match up against each other incredibly well. And while I want to see a really strong opening weekend match for the regular season between these two sides, I just think that they are keeping in consideration the week ahead that they have in front of them. And the fact that there is there's a Challenge Cup semifinal that will be taking place between the two of them as well. I'm not saying that they want to maybe hold the cards or not show as much, but this is early. This is still very, very early scenes for many of these teams. We've heard a lot from players and coaches throughout Challenge Cup that the fact of the matter is Challenge Cup coming out of a preseason and then placed in front of a regular season still has a little bit of that concept in your brain of a bit of a preseason vibe in terms of the tournament that it is. So these are still beginning stages and early stages for teams to kind of iron out the things that they want to iron out and sort of forming and their identities moving forward for 2022. So while I'm excited for this matchup, I really do think it might shake out in the draw. I'm hopeful that it might be a little bit of a shootout, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe it could be narrow as well.
I'm hoping for a shootout in this one too. As people in our chat are reminding me and reminiscing, I love it. If you're in the chat, drop your predictions. Let us know who you have for all of these matches. But Washington has conceded a lot of goals first throughout this Challenge Cup. And against a team like OL Reign, who scored 3 goals in 14 minutes a few weeks ago, OL Reign comes out really strong. So I would not be surprised if at halftime, OL Reign is winning 2-0 even. That's a pretty big margin. I honestly see that, but I still see a draw at the end of it.
How we do this? You want we both want the shootout. You're giving really good arguments for kind of a goal fest of a draw. So I'm gonna give you like the multi-goal draw. I'm gonna stay with the draw, but I'll go like narrow draw. So we'll see. We'll try to like put a different angle and spin on it as well. So we got to do the recap and maybe talk about it. We'll see what was going on. But watch because we chose a draw. It's gonna be like a completely different turnout. Watch us put the jinx on it and see what happened. But you know, there's something about these two teams, I think, going up together. I don't know if folks watching, if maybe they look at these two teams and think this right here is a rivalry, but I like the history between these two sides. I mean, we've got some history between them going back way back in the beginning stages of NWSL. This is when they do meet head to head in the Challenge Cup. It's not going to be the first time that they've met in a kind of a semi-final experience. And this Washington Spirit side ended OL Reign's impressive second half season run just last year. And I'm sure that is fresh in the franchise's mind as well. And the team were disappointed to not be able to move further into the playoffs there, especially as they had home field advantage. So home field advantage is not something that's necessarily been this type of X factor, like game changing kind of thing for the Reign when they've gone up to the Spirit before in the past. And I'm thinking about even in those early years of NWSL when there were semifinal playoffs and the Reign were eliminated or had to go face to face with the Spirit down the stretch of some things as well. So home field has not maybe always been the best scenario for OL Reign. So maybe that's something that's going to change as well. Maybe the concept of pressure on the local team might be there as well. So we'll see. There's a lot more to get into here, though. There's a ton of games we got to go through. We're going to give you picks for the remaining games of opening weekend right after a quick break. Let's talk about some matches that are going to be a true test. Portland Thorns FC versus Kansas City Current on Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. You can find that on Twitch. Portland Thorns and Kansas City. KC winning the Central Division of the Challenge Cup. Portland falling just short of the Challenge Cup playoffs, will not be able to defend their 2021 Challenge Cup title. But these two teams getting a look at each other for the first time in regular season because of how division play shook out. A lot of these teams are going to be meeting each other for the first time. And similarly to Washington Spirit and OL Reign, we're going to see Portland Thorns and Kansas City get a first look at each other. When we're looking at this matchup here, though, Lisa, what are you looking at? And who do you think is going to walk away with a result in this one or not?
I do think there's going to be a result in this match, but this is another really good matchup. We called this section the true test section because we have not seen this current iteration of Portland Thorns with Reen Wilkinson and the squad that they've put out and the different formation that they're testing out throughout 2022. We haven't seen that against a team like KC Current under Matt Potter that's trying different things, that has a handful of rookies that are being really big impact players so far in the season. Kansas City Current, they came in with some heavy hitters in Lynn Williams, Sam Ewis, who we haven't seen. We won't see Williams anymore throughout the season, but we're unsure on this current status of Sam Ewis. With or without her, I don't even think it matters, because Kansas City is a team that they won the Central Division in the Challenge Cup, essentially without Mewis. They were a team that finished at the bottom of the table in last season in 2021, and they just won the first little win that they could get, making it into the Challenge Cup postseason. This is a Kansas City team that knows how to play on both sides of the ball. They're a little bit scrappy. They can attack in a variety of ways, though, and they have a player in Kristen Hamilton that I'm going to circle and star that has taken on a lot of responsibility in the attacking end of the field for the Current. She knows what needs to be done to get the ball in the back of the net, and she's willing to do that and put her body on the line. And when you have a leader like that at Kansas City that has so many rookies around her in Elise Bennett, Alex Luera, Jenna Weinbrenner, the center backs, that is so important for how these rookies are going to enter their NWSL career. We're already seeing it from Elise Bennett, 2 assists out of the rookie in the Challenge Cup. She can be creative in the attack. And I think that having these rookies for Kansas City is helping them go against a team like Portland Thorns, who is an incredible powerhouse. But these rookies don't know that. They don't care about that. They're just out there to play football, have fun, score some goals in this regular season. But this matchup, Portland's coming off a loss. They're falling short in the Challenge Cup. They're coming off that loss to Angel City. This matchup is a big one. Now, you asked me, who do I have winning, or even do I have anyone winning? I think this one is going to be really narrow. I think the goalkeeper battle in this match between A.D. Franch for Kansas City Current and Bella Bigsby for Portland Thorns is going to be a really big battle. These players are going to step up. Their teams are going to rely on them. However, because of that, and Portland coming off their loss to Angel City, I'm giving this win to Portland. And I won't be mad if we come back on this podcast on Sunday and Kansas City ends up winning. But I'm going to give the win to Portland right now.
Listen, I'm high on Kansas City Current. I'm absolutely loving what they're doing this season so far. The little bit that we've seen from them, I'm high on Elise Bennett. I think the rookie has been incredibly impressive during this Challenge Cup, being asked to come in light of losing such a big piece like Lynn Williams, and she's playing fearlessly and with confidence, and I love to see that out of a rookie. However, like you said, there's a number of factors that are going in to play into this match. Kansas City is the team that advanced to their semifinals in the Challenge Cup. They've got a quick turnaround when you're looking at how their soccer is laid out in front of them. They've got this game away on the road at Providence Park in Portland, Oregon, and then they have got to host their Challenge Cup semifinal in Kansas City at Children's Mercy Park right on May 4th. So you're talking about a couple games over the course of 4 days. It's also going to come down to who's actually available. I mean, we saw in that final match for Portland, and unfortunately, they were dealing with a string of COVID protocols that they had to follow. Number of players were out. But there was also the recent co-ed soccer game that they had in support for Ukraine, which was a lot of fun that they had streaming on their website to take a look at. So there's likely going to be a different type of a roster available to select from by head coach Ryan Wilkinson in this one, which is why I'm going with the home side in this one as well. As much as I would love to see Kansas City go out on the road and snatch up a win, which I believe they're capable of, I just think they're going to be going up against a Portland Thorns side that is going to be looking a little bit different than they did in their final game of the Challenge Cup. So I'm eager to see the head-to-head in this one, but I'm going to be going with the home side. But I do think it's going to be a narrow win.
I do too. I like that you're going with Portland in this one. And you mentioned it. They were missing a number of players, even their head coach in their last match against Angel City. And Sophia Smith, a player that was out due to COVID protocol, she's chomping at the bit to get back on the field. And because those players were forced to sit out due to COVID protocol, that's like giving them the extra edge at this home match against Kansas City. But we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. Love to come back on here and talk about how we were right or wrong. Let's move on for another true test. We're going to be taking a look at Houston Dash versus San Diego Wave FC. That match is taking place on Sunday as well, 7 p.m. Eastern on Paramount Plus. Houston Dash finishing last in the central region of the Challenge Cup standings, and San Diego Wave ending their Challenge Cup play with 1 win, 2 draws, and 3 losses. But really promising on the offensive side of things, scoring 9 goals. They're in the top half of the teams with the goals that they ended up scoring through the Challenge Cup. Lisa, you've been high on San Diego Wave since the jumps they started forming their team together. I've been impressed with how they closed out their Challenge Cup, and we're looking at a Houston Dash side that unfortunately is now coming into their regular season off of maybe a little bit of a disappointing Challenge Cup, finishing last in that category of the central region. And now they're also unfortunately dealing with some off of the field issues as well, recently announcing the suspension of their head coach and general manager, James Clarkson, due to the ongoing joint team investigation across NWSL that has been taking place since October of 2021. So a number of different things coming into play when we're looking at these two teams going head to head. When we're looking at the end result in this one, Lisa, the soccer aspect of it, are you choosing a team to win, lose, or draw in this one, and why?
I choose San Diego Wave FC to win over Houston in this match. This is the first time San Diego will be playing out of their West Coast, their comfortability home, and Houston gets to host a California squad for the very first time. When we really have to look at for San Diego, we have to look at the Challenge Cup and what they were able to do throughout that. They've scored and allowed at least 1 goal in all 3 of their road games as an NWSL club. They're the only team to allow more goals in away matches in the Challenge Cup than San Diego. So interesting to kind of look at certain stats like that. I think that San Diego has a lot to prove. That's why this is a true test for these two squads. Then when we look at Houston, going through a lot of emotional, mental stuff off the pitch in losing their head coach and the players having to go through this as well, and then have to go and play a game. When we look at on the pitch what they've been able to do, I think Maria Sanchez is a player that can make a very big difference for this Houston Dash team. We've seen it slightly. She has 3 assists throughout the Challenge Cup. No other Houston player even has an assist. So she's the only one to have recorded assists. And she was the only player with 100% of her team's assists. And because of that and her contributions in the attack, that's one thing that she is known for: getting crosses in, whipping the balls in, being dangerous, going 1v1 at defenders. I don't think it's enough for Houston. And I don't think Ashley Sanchez can do all of it. Or excuse me, Maria Sanchez can do all of it for this Houston Dash team.
Yeah.
Because of that, I think San Diego is excited to get on the road, face some different competition out of the Challenge Cup. I am giving San Diego the nod in this win.
I'm with you 100% on this one. Listen, Houston Dash was a team that we were taking a look at during the Challenge Cup. And when we would go through our previews and recaps of games, or even when we were laying out the power rankings and going through that, this was just a team that we just couldn't really see kind of crack through that top 4 or top 6. Even when we're just talking about general power rankings, which is just sort of based on a lot of, thoughts and opinions and stats and data and eye test, right? But when we're looking now ahead of this regular season, putting some numbers attached to some of these, the eye test and the feelings and the opinions that we had about this. I mean, you can look at this Houston Dash side and point out and look across the roster and say, yeah, sure, there are some bright spots here across this pool of players, some strong individual pieces. And of course, we've been highlighting Maria Sanchez because she really is probably the breakout player for this Houston Dash side. When we're talking about the Challenge Cup that they had, there was literally a game where we can point to their big come from behind win and say that happened because a player like her took over the game. So that's just not enough. Like you said, I mean, this it can can the difference sometimes be that one kind of player doing a madness on the pitch and kind of turning the momentum for a team? Absolutely, 100%. We've seen it happen in this league and across the game, but I'm just not sure that it's going to be enough when you're going up against this San Diego Wave FC side. We were also looking for certain teams and a little bit of growth throughout this Challenge Cup, because we're looking at how they started from their week one, closing out their group matches. And even though during that final match week, there were teams that were already eliminated from Challenge Cup semifinal contention, we still wanted to see some type of, strong performances. And I think what we saw out of San Diego towards the later stages of their Challenge Cup, I think has a little bit more meat on the bones in terms of building upon that for the regular season. Casey Stoney, I think, is someone that we can include in that as the head coach of the Wave, to be able to take a look and really get a close eye on what it means to coach in the NWSL and the type of transitional play that occurs here in this league. And I think that she had 6 matches along with her roster to say, okay, here's what we got, let's go. And I think them going on the road to Houston, they're not going to maybe be intimidated by something like, playing in warmer weather or heat or things like that. So I'm looking at San Diego Wave in this one as well, and I'm expecting them to pick up a win in this one.